Hey y'all, it's Zaze. Today I wanted to try my hand at yet another watercolor painting. This time I wanted to do a still life practice just so I could kind of practice the basics in my art and get more used to using watercolors. So I found a picture on Pinterest of just like a pear, an orange, and a lime sitting on a table. I've taken a couple of art classes before and there were times where we would have to draw a still life, but I've never done one in color before, so that was definitely new for me. And I just thought that doing something like this would help me practice understanding, shapes and values and how to understand shadows and lighting, things like that. And this practice was really just to kind of loosen up my art style a little bit. I really just wanted to practice something that I wasn't really comfortable with in order to enhance creativity. I find that sometimes when I draw things I'm not necessarily comfortable with, or I try something new, that it really helps me in the long run. This in particular, I'm doing quite a lot of different things that I'm not necessarily used to with my art, between using watercolor paints, which I've been using a lot more recently but I'm still not fully comfortable with, and then on top of that drawing something other than a person, which in this case it's fruit. I just really wanted to approach my art as if it's a practice and a hobby rather than focusing on what the finished product might look like. And like I said, this was all just to get me out of my comfort zone with my drawing. Again, I've done still lifes before, but I've only done them with like charcoal or graphite pencils, but I've never done one in color before, so this was definitely a very new thing for me. And I've used watercolors before, but I've never used them for much besides portraits, and even though I enjoy learning how to paint portraits in watercolor, I do want to be able to have a variety of skills. I definitely want to loosen up my skill set, and this particular challenge really did help me do that. So I think I will be doing more like this in the future, where I'm just approaching the page with low pressure and practicing rather than just solely focusing on the outcome of how my art looks. I wasn't really sure where to start, and again, watercolor isn't really my medium. Since I wasn't really sure how to go about this, I just went straight in with my paints. Usually I would sketch my project first, like I would sketch the drawing first, but this time I just decided to go straight in with paint and figure out where it goes from there. So I outlined the shape of the fruits with the watercolor paint directly onto the page, no sketch, no anything, and then I filled in the color of these fruits. And since fruits are never like one solid color, I used a few different tones for each fruit. So for the pear, for example, even though I put down a green for the flat base, I later went in with a little bit of a reddish orange color for some color variation, which I thought looked really good. Definitely looked like a natural pear. Same goes for like the lime and the orange. And then after I was happy with my flat colors, I decided to go in with a warm brown for the shadows. And this is where things started to get tricky, because the whole point of me doing this was to practice my understanding of like shadows and gradients and things like that. Right now the shadows look a little mucky, but I later blend them out a little bit so that they don't look so harsh. But the reference that I chose had a lot of warm lighting, so that's why the shadows are more reddish in tone. And speaking of the shadows, I later on added a blue for backlighting. When things are like sitting on a countertop and then there's a light casting a shadow, sometimes the surface that it's on will reflect light back towards it, and so because of that, later on you'll see I add a little bit of blue to the shadows in order to create some cooler tones that give it some contrast, because I definitely want it to look very colorful. And then even though the shadows look a little bit wonky right now, I later do blend it all out with some water, and then I add a little bit more of the fruit colors on top just to make sure that it looks very smooth. And at the very end of the video you will see that the last and final details, I end up adding a border all around the painting just to make it look very cohesive. If you guys are enjoying this video so far, please be sure to hit the thumbs up button and subscribe. I really do appreciate you guys for watching the video in the first place. It means a lot to me. I do enjoy making content like this. It's just a way for me to get my creative passions out there, and it encourages me to just keep creating art no matter how it may look, and I really hope you guys feel encouraged to do the same thing. Having hobbies is definitely a must, and this is my go-to one that just helps me kind of meditate and slow down in my day. Whenever I'm stressed or thinking too much, painting a day keeps the negative thoughts away. But yeah, I really hope this encourages you guys to keep trying, and if you're an artist, to keep trying and to try different things, and if not, to, who knows, maybe pick up painting. But drop a comment down below about which type of paint is your favorite. Personally, my go-to is always acrylics, but since I'm trying watercolor today, maybe that could be my new favorite medium. Let me know down below in the comment section what your favorite medium is. And at this point, I was just really enjoying the process of doing this painting. I wasn't really thinking too much about what I was doing. I'm pretty sure I had like some music on, so I was really just chill and zoned out and trying to place my shadows correctly. Really, while I did this whole painting, I was glancing really quickly back and forth between the canvas and my reference, and then just trying to recreate it from memory as best as I could, which was so much fun. And I just really love how different it is from all of my other art. Like, typically I would exclusively draw people or maybe sometimes animals, but I never just draw like a still object, and so this was definitely different for me. And it was super quick to do, like quicker than my usual paintings. I finished it all in one sitting in like an hour or so, if even that. I guess part of that was because I went straight in with paint when I started the project, but it was super quick, so I just got to relax. And yeah, and since the imagery itself isn't like super creative, it was just so low pressure for me to do. I could just draw fruit for fun and have a good day that way. Typically I would just draw people, and sometimes doing that all of the time makes me get a little bit in my head about how my art's gonna turn out or how it's gonna look. Drawing the same thing over and over again kind of prevents me from enjoying my art, so doing something like this really helped me kind of just enjoy myself. And again, since the imagery is so simple, I wasn't putting much pressure on myself to paint something that's absolutely magnificent and totally creative and insane or whatever. I just made something that day because I wanted to sit down and practice my skills instead of worrying about the outcome. And this idea of approaching my art as a way to have fun instead of a way to have a good final product really does help me improve. Oh, and here I am finally adding that blue shade that I mentioned earlier. At first I didn't really love how it looks, but then I went back and blended it out. Right now what I'm doing is I'm trying to place the color where the surface kind of reflects back onto the objects, which would be the fruit, and sometimes that blue tone kind of seeps into the shadows a little bit, or at least that's what I saw in the reference I used. Again, I have not done still lifes in a very long time, but I did like that deep blue contrast versus the lighter greens and yellows and oranges that the painting already had in it. If you guys are enjoying this video so far, be sure to subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Hit the notification bell so that you won't miss a post from me, and leave a comment down below about what is your favorite thing to draw. If you draw at all, what's your favorite thing to draw? Mine personally is people. I've said this a lot before, but everybody's different. Some people like drawing landscapes, some people like drawing animals, some people like drawing abstract. So whatever your favorite thing to draw is, comment down below. I'd love to see what you guys think about these type of videos. So if you like this type of content where I'm just showing you my art process, then be sure to give the video a thumbs up and consider subscribing to the channel. Anyways, I think that overall I really enjoyed myself doing this painting. I feel like I've learned quite a few things in just one session of drawing something. And the first is that I finally understand why my art teacher insisted that we do still life in charcoal. Even though I've never done them in color before this, I think that the idea of just copying a still life, whatever it may be, whether it's like fruit like this or it's something else that you just have laying around, the idea of drawing it is a very good idea because it helps you understand the shapes of the things around you, and understanding shapes is like the most fundamental thing you could learn as an artist. And so revisiting the basics was extremely helpful. And the next reason that I really enjoyed doing this still life practice was because I kind of learned a little bit better about how to understand my light sources when I'm drawing something. I did still struggle with some of the shadow placements and things like that, but overall I learned something like valuable about understanding how light bounces back on an object and things like that. And I also feel like I learned how to trust myself when I'm drawing something, especially with this where I went in straight away with the brush and my color without worrying about the outcome. That definitely helped me. I learned something, and I think I do want to do more art projects soon where I go straight in with color before even worrying about what the sketch underneath looks like. I also learned how to take some of the pressure off of myself when I'm drawing something for that same reason, you know, not really paying heed to what I think the outcome might be is extremely helpful. This painting in particular, I really just treated it like a sketch and just took all of the pressure off of myself, and that really helped me a lot. It definitely came out looking very well. I really enjoyed how it looks. And yeah, and I also learned how to get my ideas out on paper a whole lot faster. Again, a callback to the going straight in with paint instead of starting with a sketch. It definitely just made me go straight into my project and not hesitate at all. I just put the paint down and kept going until I liked the finished product, and that's definitely something that's also helpful to learn. Even when I'm drawing people, I notice that the faster I just put my ideas down on paper, the quicker I draw the face without hesitating, or it really does help. The last thing I learned is that I want to practice my art more than just draw something, meaning that in the future I would aspire to draw something for the sake of learning. I can just draw something to practice a skill set, whether that be practicing things like shading and cross hatching or anatomy, whatever it might be, just sitting down to draw for the only purpose of learning something new. And I think that the idea of approaching my drawings in the future with the mindset of I'm doing this to learn something and to improve my skill set might also take a lot of the pressure off of me when I'm drawing things, because that's another way of stopping myself from worrying about the end result. If I'm just like, okay, well, I'm going to draw a bunch of boxes because I want to learn how to efficiently draw boxes, rather than worrying about how perfect it looks, or if it looks super vibrant, or if people are going to be impressed with my art. I think it's better to just approach it with less pressure and just a more positive mindset, using it in order to just sit with myself and practice a hobby rather than worry about the outcome or what somebody else thinks. I think that's kind of been the point of this whole video, is just to understand that when I draw, I want to draw for myself, or I want to draw to practice because it is my hobby, it is my passion, rather than to get upset or find ways to not like my art just because I want a certain outcome. And here I am finishing up the final details on this painting, though I do think I could have improved this a little bit, that I could have done a little bit better with this particular one. I still really love the outcome, and it was the first attempt at a still life. I've never really painted fruit before, so before I finished the painting, I just went back and blended everything out. I added some more of the base color to the fruits, especially in the pear. I added a little bit more of that green to blend everything out. I was having trouble with the shadows on the orange for some reason. I don't know why it looked like that. I might try something like this again. I just feel like I definitely needed more practice. However, I still, again, do enjoy the outcome of this. Anyways, if you guys have made it this far into the video, thank you so much for watching it to the end. I'm really grateful for you guys. I really appreciate the interaction, and I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. I know I enjoyed making it, so if you did, leave a comment down below and consider subscribing to the channel. I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!